Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you can see it and you can purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. And today we're discussing one of the 2018 Jaeger-LeCoultre SIHH debuts, part of the Polaris model line new for 2018. This is the Jaeger-LeCoultre Polaris Date, one of two watches along with the Polaris Memovox to receive the simulated patina ecru color dial lume, a lovely vintage fade that complements the black and silver tones of the watch quite well. It's an easy 42mm to wear on the wrist, and of course 42mm was the case size of the stainless steel 1968 Polaris diving alarm that lends its essential shape and design language to this model. Now on my 16cm circumference wrist, it's easy to wear because it's relatively compact across the wrist. 48.7mm from lug-to-lug is not huge for a 42mm watch. It's also fairly slim at 13.3mm, but as I often say, lug-to-lug is only half the story. There's also the shape of the lugs, and in this case you can see that the lugs are tightly downturned and relatively short cropped, so they arc around the wrist. And I would mention that to those with wrists as small as 14cm circumference, you can probably wear this 42mm watch. It has a broad spacing between the lugs of 21mm, and so while it is a vintage inspired watch, some proportional decisions such as lug spacing are very much of our era to give the watch a more planted stance on the wrist. Now the strap is a factory piece, and as you can see, it's designed to match the slope of the lugs but also the curvature of the case, so it's a fully integrated rubber strap. It has a little bit of a hobnail or pyramid pattern on the top. It is thick in profile and it swells to match the swell of the lugs, so there's a lovely design congruence right there. And then on the underside you can see that it features little air pockets to let the wrist breathe on a hot day. It also thins out considerably as it moves away from the wrist, and it features a double folding clasp, so this is not going to be one to drop while donning or removing at bedside. One feature I like about this fourth generation Jaeger-LeCoultre folding clasp is that there's a little push here button underneath that allows you to quickly and easily remove the clasp from the strap. If you do want to swap straps in the field, it becomes a little bit easier to do since you don't need a tool to remove the double folding clasp. The case band is highly influenced by the 1968 Polaris, but you can see this is a modern watch. The vintage Polaris was not this nuanced, handsomely faceted, or precisely finished. On the crown side you can see that, well, there are two of them. They feature a deep double knurling pattern, and the one up at 12 o'clock allows you to activate the internal bidirectional rotating dive bezel. You can see there's a combination of satin and polish, and the lugs are stepped out a bit from the case band to add a bit of definition to the case band profile. You can see that there's a narrow polished face to the outer shoulder of the bezel, and then there's an expanding and polished bevel on each of the four lugs for contrast. You'll also note that the sapphire is dramatically domed with a box section profile that's designed to evoke the plexiglass on the original 1968 Polaris. Let me remove my fingerprints from that sapphire crystal. Now the dial features all applied details. As you can see, the tri-Arabic numerals as well as the trapezoidal indices are applied by hand, and there are two different finishes, actually three if you look. There is a sort of matte black outboard on the sloped flange that forms the internal rotating bezel, and then there is a granular finish on the hour track. You can see it outboard of the step down to the hashes for the minutes and seconds. Then there's a raised center dial with another matte black finish. Now you will note that there are a few nice details here, as you have that internal rotating bezel that's protected from displacement, and it can be used as a diver. It's a 200-meter water resistant watch. It does have constant seconds. It does have a timing device. The internal rotating bezel can be lined up with the minute hand, and now you have an impromptu 0 to 60 minute timer, which I actually prefer to a chronograph. I think it's easier to read a dive bezel than a chronograph, and you don't have the downstream maintenance requirements. The movement features both stop seconds and a quick set date, so you can rapidly cycle the date should the watch run down. Turn it all over and you can see the image of the original 1968 Polaris diving alarm, which featured a super compressor case from Irvin Piquerez, which was a Swiss company that made diving cases. Now you have that image of the diving helmet on the back of the original, and you have a solid case back on this one evoking that design. You can also see that there are little dimples in polished metal that evoke the perforations of the original diving alarm's caseback. Now inside the case is Jaeger-LeCoultre manufacturer caliber 899A1. So this is an automatic with a 38-hour power reserve beating away at 28,800 vibrations per hour. It has been hardened against shock with a free-sprung balance architecture. It has a very efficient system for winding that is both unidirectional, more efficient than bidirectional, and equipped with unlubricated ceramic rotor bearings that never need service and reduce friction in the rotor. 32 joules. It features a laser welded hairspring at the stud and the collet for additional shock resistance, and once more, all of this water resistant down to 200 meters. You can see and you can purchase this Jaeger-LeCoultre Polaris Date with simulated ecru patina loom on thewatchbox.com. The stainless steel Polaris Date by Night. You can see the index of the bezel, easy to read.